Welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Join us every Wednesday to learn about the latest cutting-edge developments in the real-time communications industry. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSwitch Solutions. Get support and professional services directly from the creators of the FreeSwitch open source project, solving your issues in the most efficient, stable, and scalable way possible. Get the FreeSwitch advantage. Visit freeswitch.com. Also brought to you by ClueCon, the premier technology conference for developers by developers. Join us every summer in Chicago. ClueCon kicks off on Monday with our annual hackathon, The Coder Games, followed by 3 days of technology-rich presentations discussing telecom, WebRTC, and IoT from developers around the world. To learn more, visit ClueCon.com or call 877-74-A-CLUE.
And welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Today is the 8th of May. This week we're going to be joined by a whole bunch of guys at Kamailio World. We've got Chris Rienzo, Giovanni, we've got Fred Posner, we've got Michael Mavroudis. We got all kinds of folks over there. So we'll be checking in with them in just a moment to see what they've been doing this week. First, let's go over and see Miss Abby for the news. Abby, how are you doing today, ma'am?
I am doing great today. Thank you for asking. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on ClueCon Weekly. So I'm going to make the announcements really quick today so that we can get back over to the guys live in Berlin. But, of course, this year is our 15th ClueCon anniversary, and for a limited time, we are having registration at the lowest price we've ever had in over a decade at $7.99. So if you're interested in attending ClueCon, I would do so as soon as possible and register over on our website. And while you're registering, make sure to save the date for August 5th, the first Monday of ClueCon, because once again, this year we are having our own brand of a hackathon called the Coder Games. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to meet people before the conference really kicks off. And of course, you can win a lot of great prizes. Speaking of prizes, anybody who signs up this week before or on this Sunday for ClueCon is going to get 10 extra raffle tickets. 10 extra raffle tickets is a big deal once you get there because that could win you a lot of cool prizes, including a brand new MacBook. And I know for a fact every year people come up to me and say, how come I didn't get extra raffle tickets? Well, now's your chance to get those extra raffle tickets, and I promise you'll be jealous later if you don't have them. So now's the time to register if you want to be one of the cool people with extra raffle tickets. And more ClueCon news. Keep an eye out on ClueCon.com. We're about to put our first batch of speakers announcements up on there. So make sure that you keep an eye out on our website to learn more about what's going to be happening this year as we start to really make decisions about who's going to be speaking and what event we're going to have on Wednesday and things like that. And on Friday, that Friday of the ClueCon, I believe that's August 9th, there are still spots open for FreeSwitch and OpenSIPs training, but register for that as soon as you can because those spots are limited, but at the moment there are some spots still left. So if you're interested in training, save the date for August 9th. And that's all of the announcements I have for today, but if you have any questions for the guys over in Berlin, then let us know in the YouTube comments or the Slack channel, and we will get those questions over to them live so they can answer those. And now I do believe we have Community Corner, so back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Abby. Let's just jump straight into Community Corner. Mike, everybody, how's it going today?
Doing great.
Corner, we had a question from someone who actually attended Kamailio World. And so he asked, what is the maximum number of ESL connections?
Good question. There are no there's no hard limits, maximums on ESL connections. There are practical limits. Not something I would put a number to. It's probably far more than you would ever use. But as far as limits and actual number of connections, there's nothing in the code. If you did tens and tens of thousands of them, you would potentially start to see some performance impact in practice, I haven't seen it in the field. So not a big issue to be concerned about.
Okay, so I had actually pretty long conversation with him. And so the reason why he asked this question was because he felt he had a memory leak. So there's a better question. Another question would be, what are the potential issues that he may have?
All right, so you say he thinks he has a memory leak. I'm guessing that means on the client side, not the server side. I've never seen anything on the server side with that. Short of if you have an ESL connection that has a lot of events and you're not processing those fast enough, it will queue those up to a limit before it starts dropping them. So that's one potential issue he could be having. On the client side, it could be any sort of thing. If you're doing some sort of like, I know we talked about this earlier, if he's doing some sort of like forking Lua handler for outbound event socket, that could be something as simple as the connection is not being properly terminated at the end of it. So like you're on the client side leaking a Lua state. Now that's not something that we've written. It would have been something he's written that would like handle multiple Lua connections. I haven't seen that in the field. Would have to troubleshoot it, but my guess is in any of those scripting languages, I've seen lots of add-ons to them that tend to leak. So it would be a matter of kind of stubbing out different pieces of that functionality until the leak goes away to figure out which piece is causing it, and then double checking all of the cleanup for those pieces. It could be something in Lua where a SQL connection isn't cleared and freed properly unless you manually delete it or something like that. I've definitely seen things like that happen where it doesn't get cleaned up properly when you destroy the state.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mike.
Awesome.
Answers for the experts.
Thanks.
So today we come for you live from Berlin at Kamailio World, and we have a panel. Fred Posner?
I feel like I'm half the screen. That's hilarious.
No, it's not true.
Chris Rienzo, myself, and Giovanni. So Fred, tell us about Kamailio.
Well, Kamailio World is one of my favorite conferences. Of course, we have ClueCon and coming up in August there. Kamailio World is in Berlin. It's always it's always in Berlin. This is the 7th Kamailio World. And it's a gathering of all things Kamailio. So it's one of the only conference I can go to where I don't have to explain what Kamailio is, which is one of my favorite parts. From a technical side, it's a very technical conference. Which is
there was a lot of really cool information.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of really cool information.
We get really deep into vulnerabilities, aspects of SIP. It's mostly a SIP-based conference, being what Kamailio is. And then for anyone that doesn't know, Kamailio is an open source SIP router. Many people use it as a SIP edge router or a session border controller type replacement. But it's a SIP proxy capable of handling thousands of calls per second without really breaking a sweat. But it just handles SIP. So it's not something that FreeSwitch would excel at, such as media.
Right. And so we have all the classified features, and you put this out in front, and you could distribute or dispatch across a large bank.
It can really help with security, reliability, redundancy, scalability. It can even help with the WebRTC connections to there, because Kamailio helps a lot with WebRTC. Where we see it on sometimes with deployments such as this is maybe when you don't want to put IPv6 on all of your FreeSwitch servers, but you want to have IPv6 out there. You can use Kamailio as an IPv6 to IPv4 bridge. You could, just use it in a variety of different aspects. It's a fun product, and it's something where we work with a lot of the open source VoIP systems out there, and it's just a great conference for everyone to get together and find out what's new in the world. And
so one of the things is we always see a lot of common faces. It's a lot of the same. We see a lot of new faces, but there's a lot of the same faces as well. And so I think people come here to find out every year what's new with Kamailio. So what's new with Kamailio?
Well, we are on version 5.2. 5.3 is coming just around the corner. So we discussed a lot of the updates with Dispatcher, had some significant updates in terms of even using latency and combining different algorithms so that you could come up with some pretty awesome, unique ways of distributing your SIP load to the proper type of endpoints that you would like to hit, as well as using latency of those endpoint devices to determine whether or not they should be deprioritized within the dispatching route, which is pretty awesome.
It's very important if you want to provide a very high quality of services.
So it's a great update on one of the first modules for Kamailio there. It's we're coming at the end of the conference on a long day. We're 7 hours ahead of y'all. So it's trying to wrap my brain around some of this information overload right now. There was a lot of some of the vulnerability aspects were some of the neat things. We have done some security changes in line with everyone else. There was a discussion, I think, FreeSwitch and might have some of the same concerns. I thought it was FreeSwitch, maybe even the Asterisk project and some others in terms of TLS with the OpenSSL library. And so there was a discussion on some of the workarounds that we can face with that aspect in terms of locking it down to the version of OpenSSL that will allow for the locks in the way that we all kind of do TLS, as well as what are some possibilities moving forward if that can't happen, or if we can't get the project there to see things our way.
So Google now has boring SSL.
Yeah.
Right? And so what type of role do you think that'll play in the future?
I don't know.
That's an answer.
I don't know. We're still up in discussion as to what SSLs what libraries we want to use, what projects we want to integrate with. There is some fear among, and this is a worldwide project. There are some fear about some tools and the heavy reliance on Google, even for the dominance that they have in dictating where WebRTC goes and things like that. So I think there's some hesitance among many in the community, but in terms of the nitty-gritty.
But doesn't at the same time it makes it a little bit easier for the developers as well, because they only have to really build everything around one architecture.
Well, we want really novice people. No, I'm just kidding. There's good and bad. This is one of those things where I'm probably not the best answer go-to for that, just because of my non-participation in the programming aspect. Although, here's a fun thing. I did have my first non-documentative commit this year. I committed something to our bash script. We have an ability to to reload all the tables, and you drop them and you reload it. And the bash script doesn't, at the time, didn't, say, hey, do you really want to do this? And I put that in there, and it was instigated by an incident that I made for myself. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
High five.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just a reminder to everyone, back up your tables.
And you know what? The first commit is always the commit you remember the most.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. All my other commits have been documentation, typos, and things like that.
So, and then every once in a while, we do get humor where the entire audience laughs. And if it was anywhere else in the world, no one would understand. SIP signaling jokes.
Yeah, I was able to tell some SIP jokes in my presentation and get a response that just made me so happy. I mean, my favorite one was, it's a 403 joke, which I'm forbidden to tell you.
And my favorite one
I'm
would
gonna
be
groan on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite also, the last one.
So Daniel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mike, for organizing again. So
It's always
happy to join.
it's always great to have you on the show. So what's new with Kamailio, and how do you feel now that the conference? You must have an enormous weight lifted off your shoulders.
Now everything is perfect.
It went very well. It was
went
very
really well.
impressive.
Yeah, it's really happy that everyone was liking the event, liking the presentation, the connection they could make. We had the highest number of participants so far. Very good distribution this year. Still mainly North America and Europe. So Europe is the main one, but then second North America. But we had from South Korea, we had from Colombia, Chile, we had from Australia, and we had from
Don't forget New Jersey.
India, Russia a lot, quite good. Italians, but that's still Europe. So really, I'm glad how we managed to put the event together, and without the help of friends like Fred and the Henning and other people from the community, because as you could see, we collaborate similar to ClueCon more or less. Yeah, I think everything went great. I think I don't have any black eye or.
So there was a new nighttime event which was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So there was the boat tour.
Yeah, the boat tour, and we should give credits to Sibgate, Marcus Monca, Sebastian Dam, and Jonas putting everything together. So a nice tour of Berlin city center through the channels of the Spree River with good beer and other drinks, wine, plus what's specific here for Berlin, currywurst,
Yeah.
and Berliner Bulette vegetarian option. So everyone seemed to enjoy. It was good to get everyone closer together because it was a bit cold outside, and initially everyone got in touch with everyone, and then I got really positive feedback on that, and everyone enjoyed it. So next time, the missing part that we have to order will be better weather, right? So we need to pray.
Yeah, so I've walked throughout the whole city, and I've been to all the museums, and I did it years ago. After I came to the first one, and so, I had never been on the water, and it's such an amazing experience because you see all the beautiful architecture from a completely different view.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Actually, I had more years in Berlin than you, and I haven't done it. But it was impressive. So probably next year will be for sure. So I can also take some pictures. This time I was busy chatting with people. So, but it was impressive. I never saw the other side of these historical buildings because really great. And yeah, we had a couple of new kind of sessions. We had also from Sibgate the Marcus with the 5 minutes slide about
That was great.
5 minutes in 5 slides, presentation of your deployment. And yeah, run smooth. And it was interesting to see these numbers like Atle having 4,000 days of uptime for SIP Express router because they had to shut it down like a few weeks ago, but then they still have one with 1,000.
But it's still random.
Yeah,
That's the amazing part because he's got a lot of subscribers on that.
It wasn't even version 1. I mean, it was pre-version 1.
So it was
like
0.92.
0.92.
He
But
had like
also,
300,000 subscribers on it,
yeah.
right?
So yeah, that gives us good feedback about how people use it, and it's really valuable. Thinking that a lot of people don't really like to speak, or they think they are not able to speak a full session, but this gives them a chance to show what they do and make them proud, and then actually the other know, oh, you do that, I'm doing similar, and then because actually everyone here more or less is doing something with Kamailio, but you don't know why, and you don't have the time, and sometimes just highlighting makes people interact better, and you know, a more positive experiences. They found solution, and they found someone else with the same problem or things like that. So yeah, I'm really very happy. So,
Well, it must be so interesting to you to find out how everyone uses it, right? Because you do have all these obscure implementations. I think I was talking to Fred about a year ago, and he said someone was using it to check server uptime or something like that.
I was.
Oh, okay, you were. But that's a very unique implementation, and it's interesting to hear about that. So, what other unique implementations have you heard of?
I mean, I still have to come back to Yufei, the woman, the lady from UK. I mean, she really impressed me with the demo yesterday during her talk, but also the dangerous demo, which looked like really simple and actually was not really sophisticated in terms of what people had as interaction from what she did, but what she did behind from technological point of view with Kamailio and RTP engine was really amazing and crazy, and has actually a business case for that. She was working for a company that is doing security for telephonic calls in terms of, you know, when you call to a bank, they will have to connect you to an agent, which is maybe external, but you first have to put some PIN code there, which is the TMF. So they have to strip the TMF. They have to place some announcement to the user, hey, enter your PIN code or choose whatever you want. All this, the TMF should not go further than the media server to the agent, because you don't know how safe it is to propagate it. So she was connecting, like I calling the bank, me and the agent, we are connected, but whenever she needed to play some message, was faking a new call from Kamailio. So Kamailio is a caller into a media server, grabbing from the media server to this fake call this audio stream and injecting via the RTP engine to the other call.
That's really cool.
On only one leg, and then when you did the operation, then was again connecting, because with RTP engine was saying now you expect to get the RTP from the other side and we'll forward it here, because that was she doing, was controlling via some commands from Kamailio config file telling to RTP engine now get from there and send to this guy. Now okay, you get from there and send to this guy, and was doing all this with some fake calls in the way that Kamailio is not a media server, was just for signaling purposes and looking at the SDP and then telling to the RTP engine, now connect these two for the RTP purpose, only this endpoint. So I could bet that config files in terms of 3,000 of conditions there, because the DTMF was changing to this cpinfo, so it can get Kamailio config file executed. So yeah, a lot of people that I was discussing with after and quite advanced was still not grasping it, like really. And they had it in production, they use it for like large banks out there, and it's really interesting.
And that's a great niche market too.
Yeah, it's but yeah, but even myself, I'll stay thinking about it. Probably I'll throw a free switch in the middle, but then you have always.
Well, we always love it when someone adds free switching.
Yeah, but it's good, but for scalability, they went for this solution in the way that not all the calls need to get this information. So when they need that, they need extra information from a media server, then they make like just a short fake call from Kamailio to connect RTP engines to the media server, get the audio played, inject it to the first leg, and then all the other calls could go without. So this is a matter of the evolution of the code. And then if you put, I mean, I'm not saying that FreeSwitch cannot handle a lot of calls, but if you have only 10% and you need to put a FreeSwitch media server in the middle, you waste a lot of resources because it's like a back-to-back user agent. You still to listen also for this sort of DTMF events. So yeah, was that kind of really impressed me. I mean, as I said, if someone would have come to me for the first, I would have been throw a media server that can handle DTMF. But she's told to me that that was actually an evolution over the years using eventually other media servers, proprietary, and they did also a lot of patches for this stripping the sensitive content of the RTP stream. So they do even more than this.
Well, that comes through as a compliant layer now, too.
Yeah, it's a lot of compliance that they had to deal with, and they found this open source. So actually, you face like a PhD in this audio processing and so on. So it's really smart. I'm glad that she could make it as a speaker, and especially that we need this woman in tech more and more. And that was, again, a lot of people might look at these demos where you get a web browser flashing in here, and that's typically the winner should be Google in terms of who put the most of effort in doing that demo, because they used RTP stack from Google to do some WebRTC demo, which is easy and flashy and entertaining. I'm not saying it's not an effort there, but like from technology point of view, they rely a lot on other technology. Of course, here they were relying also on RTP engine, Kamailio, but the entire logic, the entire call flow and so on was brilliant, I would say.
Her execution was so smooth and effortless that you didn't realize how complex it was.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And so what's new with Kamailio?
Oh, now I have to remember what I presented yesterday. So yeah, the last year we had a couple of new modules, 5 already, or 6 in the latest table, and then 2 new for the next release already on the master branch. We put a lot of effort in some cleaning up. We had the developer meetings, and as many of you know, we had this Kamailio spec router, and then we merged back. There were some differences between the interface internal in the Kamailio code, so we unified them as we met last September in SIPGate offices in Düsseldorf, like 10 of us developers. Spent 2 days, and that's not something, it's more like labor, right? We had 250 modules. We had to change the module interface from them, see what they implement.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, so this kind of concentrated effort makes sense, face to face, because then you could do it fast. A lot of work on what I kept presenting for the last 3 years, this Kamailio embedded interpreter interface, where you can run your SIB routing logic in Lua, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, and I see that a lot of them are picking it up and like it more, like even Pascom, the recording team. Thomas at the presentation and said they use it quite a lot, they started loving it, and if you haven't played with it, you should do it now, because it could save you in terms of language, a lot of developers, a lot of knowledge there, and then you just have like a set of functions that you Kamailio export there and you control the SIB routing. But if you need to integrate with some external APIs, then might be easier to do it in Python. There could be an existing library for whatever backend or system you want to integrate. And actually, one of the last discussion I had here, and I said that, as I mentioned, I'm at all the Kamailio world, but I never attend any. I have so little time to chat with everyone. One guy that it was somehow Russia or Canada, I forgot. He implemented what's kind of hot in North America, this steer and shaken, this with call identity. He said they did it in Lua as they need, this is about...
But you still need a database source, right?
No, the idea is you have to sign the caller and the callee with some extra attributes like time and so on. But you need to take a token like Java Web Token, JavaScript Web Token for authentication from an API server.
Yeah.
And then it was easy for them to just build all this logic in Lua and then sign the message with the header. That's Kamailio job, but all the operation too, for building the signature, for getting this external token for signing was done with these scripting languages, because they said there are libraries for whatever you need in these languages like Python and Lua, more than we have in Kamailio. So I really got good feedback, and that makes me happy because I spend a lot of time in this one. Actually, I'm a computer scientist engineer, and I studied compilers. I like making new languages, but that's not the purpose of this project. I still love and mainly use our native scripting language, but then you have from the community, hey, there is a new NoSQL or a new application, how I integrate there. And typically, it's a C application. Kamailio, you have to write C code, and there are not many C developers. I have so limited time, and the other developers, I have to follow my customers or the interest of the community. And now, sometimes it's easier to go this way. Prototype in Python, if it proves to be large-scale use and you need to optimize, then you go and write a C module. But jumping, because if we have a connector for every this NoSQL, many of them are dead. So probably by the time we implemented the module and we tested, I can count 3 or 4 that were very popular, and they are no longer in the market.
Yeah, but the highlight of your presentation was that now scripting language performances are on par with the native language.
Yeah.
So big deal.
And the last 2 years, I also went by going in production with a couple of these deployments using Lua, some of customers using Python, and I noticed sometimes from the scripting being beautiful or not, and then you realize that for this kind of ugly expression, I'm going to Kamailio to get a value as like a CPRI back to the script, and like Lua or Python, and then putting back to Kamailio to parse it. So it's like making a loop without a big reason. So all these common patterns I could figure out in my deployment, like checking request URIs, having local domain or from or whatever, I made them dedicated function. Because now we cannot control the Python and add new kind of condition in dedicated tokens, or as we have myself, for example, Fred and Giovanni for sure know what I'm meaning. So the solution is with the function, and yes, I was surprised to see that the performances are really even, and sometimes Lua, because Lua interpreter also compiles in binary code, it's sometimes faster. So that was great to see with the latest configs that the same. And then of course you have the reloading from the beginning, like from 2-3 years ago, you could do reload of the Lua of the Python script. So other benefits, instead of not only the flexibility of the language, not only the extensive set of libraries you have for Lua, Python, and so on, it's also this experience.
So I was with a friend recently, and so he's a mobile app developer, and he showed me a Vultr LTE implementation with Kamailio. I was like, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, this was also kind of a big topic this year. We had first Professor Magedas from Fraunhofer Focus and Technical University Berlin, one of our co-organizers, helping us with this very beautiful occasion, about about the plans of rolling out these 5G technologies and the importance of the local small networks built on 5G technology, especially for innovation, because this startup, small enterprise, it's more flexible, and if you can build it for you, you can play with it, and then new services, new benefits for the user can show up. As it was so far, only the large, big money telecoms or mobile operators could deploy 3G, 4G. So 5G looks interesting. Still 1-2 years to really see it on the market, but it's good to see this evolution. Then James' body with the 4G, so that's kind of current market. But yeah, it was really good. So I don't know, maybe I will also want to see some feedback from Chris, first time here, and how have you already
Oh, no. Yeah, it was great. My first time out in Berlin, first time at Kamailio World. Really excited to come. Thank you for having me out here to present. It was really great to meet a lot of people from the European open source community that didn't necessarily make it out to Chicago for ClueCon. Yeah, it was.
So you did a presentation on Mod SignalWire.
I did. So Mod SignalWire, that is maybe not the most interesting thing that we build, but it's
useful.
Yes,
and that's what's important.
And I think it's probably far more useful to the people that watch ClueCon Weekly than maybe the attendees at Kamailio World, because it's geared towards the people that really like free switch in our community that want to develop and want to just like rapidly connect into SignalWire, take advantage of our extremely low prices for DIDs. Make your right out of the box, make your free switch be useful, right?
So the SMB community.
Yeah, right, exactly. So. Yeah, so that got released back in December. We hadn't done much with it lately, but we had a few guys on the Slack channel that were trying to use it on like 32-bit or Raspberry Pi or whatever. And so we I was like, well, we're going to be talking about this. We should make sure that it works for people that want to use it. So we got it all nice and fixed up. Works really well. Yeah, it right now just does the provisioning to automatically connect your free switch right into SignalWire without really having to do anything really other than just tell SignalWire the ID of your free switch. But we could do so much more with it. Like we could, as we add more APIs to SignalWire, we could start exposing things like messaging, or as I said earlier, even like we could even maybe do a WebRTC connection instead of going through SIP. So, yeah.
So what's new? What are some of the new services that are being offered at SignalWire?
Yes. So since ClueCon, we released Lamel to the public, and that allows you to port from some other providers onto the SignalWire platform without really having to rewrite a lot of your code. So that's great to support an API that's like kind of widely used out there, so our customers can take advantage of our, take advantage of kind of our low cost, because we feel that some of these people out there, they're just charging way too much for what this is really not much of a. It shouldn't be that much. It's just, phone numbers. It's so cheap to make calls. Don't gouge people for that. But since then, we've also done a lot of improvements around text messaging. We have a lot of people that like to do text messaging on our platform, and we've had various requests for being able to send text messages, over groups of phone numbers instead of just from one phone number. So, we listened to our customers, and we were able to turn that around pretty quick. And then my team has been mostly working on our kind of next generation APIs, relay APIs. And I was kind of describing this as sort of like event socket, on steroids. It's like we treat SignalWire as just one gigantic free switch that you can plug into and get real-time events back and forth from the system and control like anything, right? We'll be able to control your calls, do your WebRTC, control your messaging, any kind of thing that SignalWire can do, you'll be able to control over this. But we're putting a little bit more thought into how the APIs are designed so that the writers of our SDKs can have the appropriate control on it. We have a lot of people with experience from a lot of different industries, and so we're taking that knowledge to make sure that we're exposing the APIs that that we would have wanted if we were to rebuild our system on SignalWire. So we just released next iteration of our calling API, which added all of our speech recognition, text-to-speech, basically all your basic IVR functions. And we kind of have in the pipeline some answering machine detection that should be queued up and probably out the door in another few weeks. So
you've actually contributed to a pretty substantial amount of FreeSwitch modules. Why don't you tell us about that and a little bit about yourself as well for the viewers that don't know you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've kind of been lurking around the community for a lot of years. Been fortunate to find the project back in 2008. I was kind of just slacking off at my office, surfing the web and saw that
Chris,
you guys.
may I interrupt you just a moment because Daniel must go.
Oh, sure.
No, okay, finish.
No,
It's okay. Finish. It's still 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's okay.
No problem. Anyway, I worked for a couple places that were very fortunate to let me, replace our old TDM systems with, voice over IP. FreeSwitch project was, out there 1.0. It was great. My employer, they just like most places don't want to give money to anybody, but they were open to letting me contribute the modules back to the community. So, we had an MRCP module, we added the HTTP cache when I was over at Soundbite, and then at my last job at Grasshopper, we contributed the Graylog and modules. So.
UniMRCP.
Yeah, MRCP. Yeah, we were stuck with Nuance, 10 years ago or so, and there was no Google Cloud or any of that stuff to.
It was nothing.
Yeah, and the prices are ridiculous too. Yeah.
So Giovanni, you authored the most recent FreeSwitch book.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
The FreeSwitch books are going well, and are the way that we devised with the core team how to give some tool for people that want to delve into FreeSwitch. So there is actually two ways today to use the power of FreeSwitch. From one side, you have a way to interact through at least two kind of APIs, three kind of APIs with SignalWire, where you find an architecture that is already scalable, reliable, etc. But the other side, if you want to build something that is in-house, maybe before to scale it to production with the SignalWire, you need to know what are the primitives, what are the architectures that you can use it. And the books that actually are three books, one like a cookbook with short recipes that you can just cut and paste, and two other books that are more like the reference book and the advanced book. So with those three books, you can start exactly from zero, from nothing knowledge, and become an expert of FreeSwitch.
That is such an important point, because the most important thing is bringing new people into the community. And so when someone wants to start learning about FreeSwitch, one of the major ways to do it is go out, you purchase the book, and You read about it, and very simply, you can start making phone calls. I mean,
Yes,
that's amazing.
because you need something that is working, like the full configuration, that is a full enterprise PBX with 10,000 features that you will never use into production. 10,000 features, but it's just a demo, and it's there just for the new people to
And some of the experienced people to learn
play
more
with,
as well. Yeah.
to play with, and you know, you begin tinkering with, as with whatever. I mean, as with cars, as with do-it-yourself in house. You begin with a little thing, you tinker a little bit, maybe then you do a little project on your office for your colleagues, and then after 5 years you are a CTO of some new hot startup. I mean, it happens. It really happens. I mean, it's like that. And so to come back to Kamailio world, what was very interesting here was to see how there's a spirit of building things, knowing about things, combining different things, percolates and arrives to blossom into a structured environment that is actually moving millions and millions and millions of calls all over the world. Because I mean, we're talking about a base software that is switching calls for the major telcos in the world, and it's really, I mean, the
Free
sales,
switch, without
the
any
sales-
question, free switch is used in some way or form in almost every major telco.
Absolutely, yes, and we've seen.
Kamailio.
Yeah. The combination between free switch and Kamailio can be put to use into both the enterprise and the carrier worlds. For example,
like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. For example, my presentation was exactly about that, and was about going down to a component point of view. So you are developing some advanced SIP service for a carrier or for multi carriers, and you end up okay, Kamailio or a SIP proxy, then you have free switch or asterisk as a media server, but then you have all the burden to manage users, roles, permission. This user can do that, but don't cannot do that, the other things in terms of operator of your customers that has to manage the service that you build. And so my presentation was about reusing some building blocks that are from the free switch ecosystem, and particularly reusing Fusion PBX as both as a GUI and as a user management, operator management in terms of roles and permission, as a shortcut that make you so fast the time to market, because you have your architecture, you know telecommunication, you know SIP services, etc. You build this, but then you need all the graphic interface, all the user management, etc. So why to start from scratch? Get something that is very good, very stable. I mean, the stable release of the.
But it's not just Fusion alone.
year.
There's a lot of different components which are all pulled together in order to make something that's robust enough to actually move.
Definitely. And that's why we all get together in this conference, because this conference is all about industry strength, big numbers, stability, and I mean the real edge of technology where you can put confidence in it.
Well, Daniel, thank you for such an amazing conference.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and everyone loves coming out here every year.
I'm
to
glad
come
to
and see
hear
it.
that. So we'll see you next year then.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be there.
ClueCon first.
Yeah.
Okay,
Any
well,
updates about ClueCon from you? Then I'm not the one asking questions. What's going to be exciting at ClueCon?
so there's a call for speakers, and we have a lot of the speakers in.
I'm one, hopefully.
Did you submit your papers?
Yeah, but I haven't seen any approval yet. So
Don't worry, you're gonna be approved.
I'm putting pressure. You see, I will get speaking slots.
They didn't tell me anything either.
But no, I know.
You're gonna be approved too.
No, but I know it's about the structure, anything new events around. I mean, always will be a great speaker, I'm sure about, but I'm very good at
Well,
the entire week.
Well, so now it's turned into every conference we go to now as a boat tour. I'm so happy about that.
Do you
I
like
didn't get
about
to sponsor this one.
so, the usual pizza party, I guess, Chicago?
No, so it's in the last resort.
Wait, what?
And so essentially what it is it's a really fun place. And so
last year,
yeah,
was also
that's sponsored. It's sponsored by Flowroute. And so what that is we go to this, I guess, barbecue place, and it's really interactive, and you know the staff writes things on you, and they're hysterical.
Yes, yes.
Yes, the mean people.
Well, it's called this.
So the thing is, people in technology are all glutton for punishment because, you know, sooner or later, you know, those bugs and tickets come in and we have to deal with them. So it's much better when they're written on our foreheads as opposed to filed in some bug system.
Yeah, I remember those fun there.
So it's a great event. But anyways, thank you guys for coming in today. And it's been a wonderful time in Berlin, but you know, the event has come to an end and we all must go home. So back to you, Ken.
Hold on, Jersey. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Berlin can hear.
Did we just get unmuted? Were we muted the whole time?
No, you were not. No, Jersey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So both Fred and Daniel are approved for speakers, just so you know. It's not announced yet, but you're hearing it first here.
Serious speaking, that kind of always dictates that it'll happen, right?
Okay, so you see how we solve it? We're going to conference with the guys.
Ken, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. Again, Giovanni, Daniel, Mike Mavroudis, Chris Rienzo, and Fred Posner, guys, all coming to you live today from Berlin. So thanks, guys, for coming in and letting us know what's going on at Kamailio World. If you want to see these guys again, you can bet that they'll all be at ClueCon here before you know it. So if you haven't got your ClueCon ticket, go get them now, and you can see the guys there in Chicago. So, guys, coming up next week, let's see here if I can get the right button. Coming up next week, we're going to have Mr. Gavin Henry, I believe. Gavin Henry from Sherwood is going to be joining us. Always interesting to talk with Gavin. So, you guys be back here noon Central U.S. time on Wednesday. We'll see you then. Don't forget, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and if you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button. I think it's right over here. And then you'll see a little bell pop up next to it. Click the little bell, and you'll get notifications next time we post videos from the Free Switch team. We'll see you guys next week. Hope you have a great week.
You've been watching ClueCon Weekly. Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central. Keep up with the latest happenings by subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or visit us at freeswitch.com.